Just verifying that we have our quorum. We did, but then Tom dropped off.
Laura, we do have a quorum because Eric's Rolling joined.
Yeah, I see that. Thank you.
Do you not see me on? I didn't drop.
I got a message saying you dropped off. But if you're back, great.
I didn't. I promise.
Okay. I have 5 o'clock. So we'll get started. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for coming tonight. It looks like we have 92 people online, and that's the beginning of the meeting, so wow. This meeting is being held in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act and is open to the media and public. Notices were duly posted, and the meeting was advertised in the Hunterdon County Democrat and the Courier News. Formal action may be taken. Can I get a roll call, please?
Ray Egbert.
Here.
Carol Hampel. Ron McKalen.
Here.
Carolyn Pogorski. Andrew Saunders. Thomas Wallace.
Here.
Eric Growing.
Here.
Anna Shin.
Here.
Laura Simon.
Here.
3 are absent.
Can we stand for the flag salute?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
We have the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mrs. Simon. This evening, I'm going to present in a moment a Readington Ready update on school reopening plans. Much of this will be a review, but I plan on walking the board through a presentation in just a moment. So I'm going to present my screen once again. This is the screen that I'm presenting. Mrs. Simon, are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So tonight I'm going to walk the board through and the public through our Readington Ready reopening plan. So this is going to be our update since last we met. So first, recall that our guidance document, our guidepost for developing our plan for restarting schools was the DOE document called the Road Back, Restart and Recovery Plan for Education. So this was our tool for the framework for coming back to school. This was published toward the end of June. Over the course of the month of July, our Restart Committee met. We developed plans, and the plan was shared, the outline of the plan was shared with the Board of Education and the public back on July 28th. Since then, last week, the governor signed Executive Order 175, and he made an announcement last Wednesday. So the announcement did three things. First, the governor did say that districts may open fully virtual if the district can demonstrate they are unable to satisfy the health and safety requirements or standards for in-person instruction, which is why I started with talking about the Road Back document, because that had the standards or requirements for in-person instruction. He provided additional health and safety requirements. So what Executive Order 175, the way it actually reads, was what it did is it took the 104-page document from the Department of Education that we got back in June and had that document incorporated into Executive Order 175. And there have been some slight changes that we've been up to date with, but they appear in Executive Order 175. And then finally, the governor announced that there's some updated information from the Department of Health, and there are some specific recommendations for K-12 schools, which I'll walk you through tonight. So first, know that the governor said schools should open unless you can't open. And what the governor is saying is that think about not being able to open in terms of not satisfying the health and safety requirements, which is why I want to walk you through those health and safety requirements. So number one, the first is that the governor and the Department of Education guidelines talk about having at least a 6-foot distance between individuals in all settings to the greatest extent practical, or social distancing modifications such as physical barriers. So our plan includes classrooms set up with 6-foot distances between students and staff, and all classrooms, all teachers will get a plexiglass barrier, at least for their desk or for their table, to meet with students on an individual basis. In addition, we purchased plexiglass barriers for main offices, nurses' offices, and other areas of small group instruction like the school counselor's office or intervention classrooms. The mandatory use of face coverings, except in certain circumstances, was new as of late July. So the governor did mandate that all students, all staff wear face coverings while indoors in schools. There are some exceptions. There are certain circumstances that the governor lists in Executive Order 175, and these include when doing so it inhibits an individual's health, if there's extreme heat outdoors, if an individual is having trouble breathing, if there's a documented medical condition or a disability that precludes the individual from wearing masks, the individual is under 2 years of age, when the individual is eating or drinking, when they're engaged in high aerobic activity or physical activity during music instruction, or when wearing a face coverings makes it unsafe to operate equipment. So those are kind of that's the list of exceptions that could be possible. Thirdly, the governor talked about in his executive order routine cleaning and sanitization of classrooms, lunchrooms, gyms, restrooms, and high traffic areas and high touch areas. With our facilities department, we've developed protocols in order to do the routine cleaning of these high traffic areas. Essentially, when talking with Mr. Race and Mr. Bohm, custodians, we have additional maintenance staff that will be in each building along with the custodian. They will have a cart to be going around the building and wiping down these surfaces on a daily basis, more frequently according to a rotating basis. The facilitation of student hand washing and alcohol-based hand sanitizer. When principals have been developing schedules, they've been building in time, particularly for the elementary students, to build in time for hand washing. Many of our classrooms have sink with water and soap. All classrooms, however, will have packets of wipes, the cleaning agent that we use in our schools with paper towels, as well as hand sanitizer in every classroom. So they are outfitted in every classroom. Not every classroom has a sink, but all classrooms have hand sanitizer. The use of face coverings and social distancing to the extent practical on school buses. So we have, through our A/B rotation, as well as through parents who are opting not to necessarily use the school bus, we are able to maintain safer distances on the school bus because of the reduced capacity. And we have additional equipment that protective equipment we've purchased for the school bus driver, and all students will have to wear face coverings. Student and staff health screenings, these are included in assurances that will be completed by staff members and by parents prior to the staff member or the child coming to school, and it includes a questionnaire that are related to COVID symptoms, as well as a temperature check. Enhanced social distancing and infection control protocols for music, choir, and PE classes that are indoor. So to the extent we can, we're going to have PE class outdoors. Our supervisor of humanities has met with the music department to develop other activities that do not involve blowing into wind instruments or singing, more music theory and other musical concepts. So we're not planning on doing our music program as traditional. We're planning on doing more music theory and other activities in music class to expose them to music appreciation. A plan for response for students and staff who exhibit symptoms of COVID-19. So this is outlined in our plan where if there is a student or staff member who's exhibiting symptoms, there is an isolation room that we're required to have where the student or staff member will be placed until they can go home or be sent home. A plan detailing the response if someone tests positive. So the Department of Health has given us a chart which now appears in the plan on how we would respond for anyone testing positive. These 2 bullet points include coordination with the Department of Health. So every step of the process, if we have someone who is symptomatic or someone who is tested positive, we would coordinate with the Department of Health to determine what measures might need to be taken as far as a short-term closure or more of a long-term closure or quarantine. We'll support contact tracing to the extent that we can with the Department of Health. We will plan to ensure that indoor facilities have adequate ventilation. I've started touring the buildings with Mr. Bohm and Mr. Race. We do quarterly inspections of all of our ventilation systems to ensure that they're in operational and working order, and to change filters. Prior to the start of school, we will again inspect all of our ventilation systems, ensure that they're in proper working order, do a visual inspection of the filter and any other mechanical pieces that may need to be changed. In addition, some classrooms have been outfitted with diverters to change the flow of air that are coming out of the air conditioning or heating systems to ensure that it's not blowing across the surfaces, but rather blowing up or down. To ensure social distancing during PE class and at recess, which is included in our plan to the extent possible, keeping students socially distant, and our students have come up with some really great activities that we can do, especially at recess. And then procedures to resume athletics if feasible. Right now, we're not looking at doing an athletic season this fall, but should we resume them, we would follow the NJSIAA guidelines. So these are all outlined not only in the Department of Education handbook, but also in Executive Order 175. The Department of Health has also issued some recommendations that they have provided to school districts back on August 13th, so just last week. Many of these repeat what the Department of Education have put in their handbook and what appears in Executive Order 175. So you'll find that the messaging seems to be consistent and clear. So here are some recommendations from the Department of Health that you'll hear again. Physical distancing in small groups, and this is like our A day, B day, bringing in half the capacity of students, limiting the use of shared equipment, hand hygiene and respiratory etiquette, right? This is hand hygiene, washing hands, as well as coughing or sneezing into your elbow, wearing face coverings, cleaning and disinfection, symptom screening, and preparing and responding to illness or a positive COVID-19 case. So as you look at the Department of Health recommendations, you'll notice that many of them mirror exactly what the Department of Education and Executive Order 175 say. The other thing I mentioned is that the governor and the commissioner of health said that there are now newer metrics for us to monitor the activity level of COVID-19 according to region. So what the Department of Health has put together is an activity report for the state divided by region. Our region is Central West. Our region is incorporates Mercer County, Hunterdon County, and Somerset County. And within our regions, the Department of Health is monitoring the activity from low activity to very high activity, and they're color coding the state based off of the level of activity of COVID-19. And this is going to get updated weekly. Now, the importance of this is that the Department of Health may recommend certain actions be taken by school districts depending on where the health activity report is of COVID-19. So if for some reason our region moves into the very high, which is the red color, the Department of Health may recommend a short-term 14-day closure and full remote instruction. If we move more toward low and remain very low, I'm not saying that they would do this, the Department of Health may say, you know, you could open up schools more fully instead of an A-B rotation. That's just an example. So the Department of Health would monitor the activity of COVID, and they would assist school districts in what we should be doing to respond to the level of activity based off of their surveillance of COVID activity. So what does all of this mean for Reddington? So I started the presentation by saying, the governor has said open schools if you can meet the health and safety standards. So have we reviewed and do we comply with the health and safety standards set by the state? Yes, we do. Have we reviewed and implemented the recommendations from the Department of Health, and are we prepared for their continued collaboration? The answer is yes. We've had a collaborative relationship with the Department of Health. We continue that collaborative relationship, and as the Department of Health and the Department of Education have very similar standards, we meet their standards too. Can we resume in-person instruction according to these guidelines from the Department of Health and the Department of Education? The answer would be yes. And the final bullet, which I want to talk about in the next couple of slides, I asked the question I want to present to the public. Are there any other factors that could modify our plan or lead to a fully remote instruction between now and September? And the answer to that is yes. There are some factors that we must mention beyond what the governor is mentioning that I want to bring to your attention. So what are these factors? So the first factor is that districts in our county or surrounding area may close because they may not be able to meet these health and safety standards. So what does that mean for us? What becomes the concern? Staff members then have availability to federal leave if, and quote, this comes out of our federal leave policy, they are caring for his or her child whose school or place of care has closed due to COVID-19. So as districts in our local area continue to announce closures, this may have an impact on our staffing. The second factor, staff requests for medical accommodations. The concern here is that staff may require specific medical accommodations to return to work, or staff members may be eligible for a federal medical leave under FMLA. So there are two factors that relate to staffing that we have to consider when it comes to opening schools. The third factor, there could be a change in the public health crisis. As I mentioned before, the Department of Health is providing to us that surveillance through their activity reports, and right now we're color-coded as yellow. If there's a change in our color code based off of the activity in Mercer, Hunterdon, and Somerset counties, this may change our ability to open schools in September. So these three factors combined really make for a challenging situation as we look toward opening schools. In addition, I should mention too that we want to talk about the fact that we're looking for filling positions, substitute availability amid this health crisis, as well as the fact that we recognize that quarantine at some point, maybe after September 1st, perhaps before September 1st, is a very real factor that we have to consider too. But these are the three primary. So what could we do about this? So the first action or solution is to maintain our A-B rotation schedule, but potentially operate on an early dismissal schedule on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. Why would we consider this? This may alleviate some of the childcare concerns that I've been hearing from staff based off of what other districts are doing related to COVID. This could give us the availability for additional space in our facilities to offer more childcare for our families here in Redington, as well as offering childcare for our staff. And this may meet some of the medical accommodations required by staff. The second action or solution would be to fully close school for complete remote instruction and open in September with completely remote instruction. This could alleviate child care concerns because then staff could work from home. Medical accommodations may not be necessary if staff are working from home. Our facilities could continue to be used by the Y program, and a closure may be required if there's a shift in the public health crisis. So what next? Where do we go? So as of today, here it is 20 after 5, we are sticking with our plan as written and as to be approved tonight by the Board of Education. However, communication becomes very important. The situation fluctuates day by day, and honestly, sometimes the situation fluctuates hour by hour. If our plan begins to change, what I can tell you to the board members, to our staff, and to the community is that we will communicate any changes as early as possible. Our goal this week is really to continue to review these additional factors, those three primary factors that I presented to you that are of concern to us, and to determine what next steps might need to be taken. But as of right now, we're going to continue to stay the course, and we're going to do our best to communicate as early as possible. So with that being said, I'm going to stop presenting in just a moment, and I will open up to the board. For questions. So I stop presenting. I can see you now. Are there any questions from the Board of Education? Okay. So this is our current status. The final thing that I'll mention is that the plan, when we first met on and discussed the plan on July 28th, the plan's since been revised. This plan that is in front of you today is our final plan, which includes full days, reopening, starting school as of staff come back September 1st, students come back September 3rd. So that's what's on our agenda tonight for approval. Mr. Simon, I'll turn it back to you if there are no questions from the board.
Great, thank you. Before we open for public comments, I would like to remind the public of our policy number 0167 regarding public participation. The portion of the meeting during which the public is invited shall be limited to 60 minutes as per the policy, or 1 hour. As such, if your question has not been answered, please feel free to email the superintendent directly with your question. Please also, I ask that you limit your questions to those that pertain to the general audience. If you have a specific question regarding your child and how your specific child would be affected, if you could please reach out to your principal. So we are now open to the public, limited to action items on the agenda.
I'll start with the questions that are listed in comment there. The first one has to do with ventilation systems. Do they bring in air from the outside, or is it just recirculated air in the room? Has the school thought of providing freestanding filtration systems?
So, Robin, I'll start with that question, and we'll continue. So, Jason, if you would please I'll answer, and if there's anything you have to add, please let me know. So, prior to starting school, like I mentioned in the presentation, our goal is to go back through and do an inspection of all of our air handler units, ensure that they are bringing in outside air, adjust the dampers to ensure that they bring an additional percentage of outside air into the buildings. The way we monitor this is going to be through the work order that is done and complete, and through a checklist that is done by our maintenance staff after they check each unit. And to inspect each unit to make sure that they have all of the required components, to ensure that we have monitored it, and then we have adjusted the dampers to bring in outside air. We are required to bring in outside air in ordinary circumstances. We are looking to adjust the dampers to bring in additional outside air, but we're continuing to monitor this because we want to ensure that we want to balance the amount of outside humid New Jersey August air that we're bringing into our air-conditioned buildings. So we're just adjusting it to ensure that we find that perfect balance. Have we considered air filtration systems in each classroom? So it's something that we've discussed. It is something that would involve a major capital project to our systems. Individual freestanding units would also involve some sort of capital project to update our electricity to be able to run all of these air filtration systems. However, if a staff member has a specific accommodation or request, to please reach out to me and let me know. In addition, I see another question about air. When it comes to bringing in sorry, I just lost my spot. Filters. Our air handlers are unable to handle MERV 13 filters. Those are, the air needs to pass through our air handlers at a specific rate to keep the components operating smoothly. We are unable to upgrade our air handlers to handle that level of filters. Jason, is there anything I missed in regard to air quality?
No, I think you covered most of the points. I mean, you already mentioned we have deflectors in rooms that require them. The MERV 13 filters are not able to be done at this time, nor are able to be done in most buildings in the state of New Jersey. They also only filter a small percentage of virus contaminants. You would actually need MERV 14 or higher to even get a larger percentage, which is not guaranteed. We have on-site in-hand portable HEPA filters at the current moment, as you mentioned. So we have done everything we can do to make our rooms ready from an air quality perspective based on what we can make readily available without a major capital project undertaking for potentially hundreds or millions of dollars.
Bringing outside air into the building, remember, we would have each individual classroom has either an air handler unit for that section of classrooms or individual in classrooms. So when I refer to bringing in air into the building, it's per air handler unit, which is either individualized for a classroom or individualized for a portion of the building for several classrooms.
Okay, next up, what percentage of students in each school have said that they would attend in person?
As of right now, we have approximately 76% of students who will be attending in person on the A-B rotation. We have about 125, I don't know the percentage of families that have not yet, or students, parents who have not yet responded, but it's student numbers, not family numbers. So about 76% are attending in person.
In regards to school lunches, will they be provided, or are families supposed to pack lunches to bring, and about eating in classrooms versus cafeteria?
School lunch food service will be provided as it is on an ordinary school year or school day. We are limiting selections to just approximately 2 or 3 cold options per student that will be in a boxed lunch. However, if your child wishes to bring lunch from home, that's perfectly fine, but we will have food service for children in schools. Right now, we are looking at serving lunch in the cafeterias. There's only one exception where we're looking at potentially eating in classrooms. However, the principal of that building is currently looking at the number of students who are attending and that will be in the cafeteria, and believes that perhaps all of the students in that particular lunch can fit in the cafeteria. It's an elementary building, with a kindergarten and first grade combined lunch. So we're just looking at the numbers of students who are actually attending versus the number of students that are virtual to see if we can fit them all in the cafeteria based off of our cafeteria configuration.
Clubs and activities, will they be meeting virtually after school?
As of right now, no. We're not offering any clubs or activities or extracurriculars right now.
Concerns about replacing and the ability to replace gloves, hand sanitizers, especially since the middle school is down a bathroom. So what are our supplies looking like?
Yeah, go ahead, Jason. I'll let you take it. I know that we have either all supplies in or will be in this week, but you can talk details of quantity of supplies.
Yeah, so we have one 12-month employee dedicated for every day and hour they are here to ensure that we have tracking of PPE supplies that are both on site or coming here for every purchase order that we have made. We also execute purchase orders now for PPE or COVID within 48 hours. We've also been sending staff 2 hours driving distance to pick up PPE supplies based on what's available in site for vendors. We have over 8,000 masks currently in our possession. We have KN95 masks in our possession. We have N95 masks in our possession. We have multiple different types and sizes and shapes of plexiglass and acrylic, which are being outfitted not only to main offices, nurses' office, but as well as to every single teaching classroom for use. Many members will also have multiple different plexiglass for students. So some classrooms will actually, every student in certain classrooms will also have plexiglass that they can carry with them if they so choose. We have a significant amount of hand sanitizer. We just received our sanitization wipes. We have plenty of products, cleaning products that will kill viruses of this nature. And also we have backup to those products that will kill this virus. So what we have done in essence is we've said, this is what we need to open. This is our plan B. This is our plan C. Knowing that at any time, plan A may run out of supplies or may not be available in the future because of supply chain disruption. But we can immediately move to B or C. And most of B and C we already have in our possession as well. So we have duplication of some supplies at this time, and we actually, in the next couple of weeks, we may have triple the amount of supplies that we need that are well beyond the minimum standards of the state.
Thank you,
Question about when the AB schedule will be approved, and that's up for vote this evening.
That's correct.
Kevin Meyer would like to address the board. Kevin Meyer on.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Thank you. My name is Kevin Meyer, and I'm a special education teacher at Reddington Middle School, as well as the president of the Reddington Township Education Association. I come before you today to express the concerns of the members of the RTA regarding the reopening of school facilities for in-person instruction. Trust me when I say that we want to be able to teach our students in person. However, we do not think it is safe to do so at this time. Each and every one of us, teachers, counselors, psychologists, paraprofessionals, custodians, secretaries, and other school employees work hard to deliver a first-class education to the hundreds of children in this township. Last spring, when the governor gave the stay-at-home order, we changed the way that we educate over one single weekend and continued to deliver a high-quality education virtually in the face of many new challenges. We worked harder than we ever have in order to help our students continue to progress while focusing on their social emotional well-being. We thank our students, first and foremost, and their families, and other members of our greater community for their support during that time. We all learned a lot about coming together and learned new things hand in hand. We understand that an in-person opening of schools is extremely important to the families and community that we are a part of. We miss our students. Our students miss seeing their friends and teachers. Families and communities need the structure of the school day and the support of in-person learning to continue to be the pillars of normalcy and growth as they always had been. We are also parents, grandparents, community members, and friends. On behalf of our members, I can state that no one wants to go back to normal more than us. We chose our professions to be educators because we love teaching. Sorry, a little nervous. We chose our professions to be educators because we love to teach and value our students. The best way to do this in most circumstances is through in-person learning. However, the only thing worse than schools not opening is them opening unsafely. An unsafe school building could become the hub of infections in a community. The board, superintendent, district administrators, RTEA leadership, and staff and students, as a part of numerous committees, have put countless hours and a ton of energy into planning for school reopening, doing everything to make the best out of a terrible situation. It is the superintendent's job to outline how the district has met the Department of Education guidelines, and he has done so. However, the New Jersey Education Association also has established a set of minimum acceptable standards for reopening, and our district has not met all of them. After sharing this with our membership and asking them to review the Reddington Ready Plan itself, 73.6% of our members polled feel that our schools are not yet ready to open safely. The RTA is not comfortable with that percentage, and therefore I would be remiss if I did not make this statement. Additionally, with even more schools in the state going to fully remote plans since our survey, which closed this past Sunday, 26.4% of our staff anticipate or have applied for some type of childcare related leave. We have come together to tell you the reasons that schools cannot open safely at this point. The air ventilation systems in our buildings are not sufficient to circulate the air safely. Many buildings additionally have no rooms with windows. This would include offices, CST rooms, therapy rooms, and speech instructional areas. If the air is not safe for staff, then it is not safe for students either. The overall district ventilation system is an area of concern which needs and requires professional assessment and targeted remediation. As outlined in the Reddington Ready Plan, which states, filters with a MERV rating of 13 or higher that potentially remove a certain percentage of viruses from the air are not feasible at this time due to HVAC capabilities, nor is installation of a UVC lighting in air units. The district is considering these options and others long-term as part of capital projects. Long-term capital projects do not help us now, when there is a public health crisis with the potential to infiltrate our schools. We cannot accommodate MERV 13 filters even, especially when NJEA minimum acceptable standards call for MERV 17 filters to protect the students and the staff of Reddington Township. While it is my understanding that our ventilation systems are adequate and appropriate for a typical school year, this clearly is not a typical school year. At this time, the RTA does not feel that all of our buildings are ventilated to the level required to contain the spread of COVID-19. While the district has outlined procedures for screening, contact tracing, and quarantining, we do not feel that they are adequate. Even with the elements outlined, any infected individual can lead to the spread of the virus throughout a building and the community. A Google form to attest to the lack of symptoms is not adequate enough to ensure that students, or anyone for that matter, are not entering a building with symptoms, let alone when asymptomatic. The Readington Ready plan states that staff must visually check students for symptoms upon arrival, which may include temperature check follow-ups and/or confirm with families that students are free of COVID-19 symptoms via the assurance document. The likelihood of this happening before a student enters a building and comes in contact with others is not adequate. Additionally, staffing the buildings is going to be a huge challenge. Many staff members are not able to enter school buildings because they are at a dangerously high risk for infection and severe complications. Other staff members are caring for medically fragile individuals at home. Compounding this problem, some staff members will need to quarantine because of travel, coming into contact with others who are infected, or because they get infected themselves. Finding replacements for these individuals is going to be extremely difficult. Every new person introduced into a school building adds a new risk. Many members have childcare issues because of closed daycares and their own schools' hybrid or fully virtual schedules. While students have been given the option to learn 100% remotely, there is no such option for staff. Some staff have family members with health conditions, and they are terrified of bringing the virus home to their loved ones. Staff are stressed, scared, and anxiety-ridden due to the notion of having to choose between their employment, their students, and the direct health impacts to themselves and their families. Lastly, in a report from the American Association of Pediatrics, there has been a marked increase in childhood COVID-19 cases. The report shows that between July 9th and August 6th of 2020, there were 179,990 new child cases reported. This represents a 90% increase in child cases over a 4-week period. COVID-19 is a life-threatening virus. We cannot risk the health and lives of our students and staff. Even one case in our schools is one too many. Even one life lost is too much for our community to recover from. With all that said, we implore you to reconsider in-person learning for the start of the school year. I have no doubt that together we will continue to successfully educate the children of Readington Township in the months ahead. But right now, in this moment, we have to protect the futures of our children, staff members, and schools by coming together. Parents, students, teachers, administrators, and Board of Education members alike to do what is best in this moment for our community. This pandemic will eventually end, and what will matter most and what will be remembered is how we came together as a community. We commend our members, Readington families, and our students, and our administrators and board for their continued flexibility and all of the out-of-ordinary preparations that have and will continue to go into making the school year ahead successful, but most importantly, safe. Thank you.
Right. Lots of filtration. Again, I don't know how much we want to rehash that. If there's any specific filtration issues, maybe they should be emailed directly.
It can be. The only thing I'll say is I want to just ensure that everybody knows that there is no requirement from the Department of Health or the Department of Education that there be MERV 13 filters. If school districts, and I read at least one superintendent letter that said that the district was closing because there was a lack of MERV 13 filters, but there is no requirement for that. So I don't think that is a minimum standard that's being set by the state. Maybe it's being set by other entities. So I don't know how else to answer that question except from everything that I've read, including what I reported to the board, there doesn't seem to be a requirement for MERV 13 filters. And Jason, I don't know if you want to add anything about.
No, I would also say that we do have in our possession HEPA grade filters that accomplish the same thing as MERV 14 or greater filtration for specific circumstances and areas of the building at this time. So we can accomplish something of that nature for specific areas of concern. But if you look at how to set up an average classroom will be, we will in essence have on average less than 10 students in a room, spaced 6 feet apart, with a staff member that could be behind a plexiglass barrier, with a face shield available to them, with everyone wearing masks, hand sanitizer, wipes, and spray bottles in the classroom, with open air from the outside coming in passively, not directly across desks, with almost no or minimal movement throughout the day. So there's not much more that I could do from a facility standpoint to make it safer for everyone to return if the board deems that's what they want to do.
I'll read this one directly because I'm not sure what direction. Have we considered the emotional consequences of maintaining social distance requirements on our youngest students, a scared and crying kindergarten student who needs to be consoled on a school day?
I know that our plan details the social and emotional learning of students. And I think that there are consequences to social distancing in schools. I think that there are also consequences to not being in school at all. I think that this decision and the mandates to return to school for some in-person instruction requires us to weigh the costs and benefits of every decision. So when it comes to social emotional learning needs, I'm confident that our teaching staff can address those needs and find creative ways for students to interact with one another while still being safe.
There's a request that when people are in the chat, can they identify themselves as community member or parent or teacher, just to help with keeping the context of what we've got going on here. Cleaning, who is responsible for cleaning desks in between classes?
So in between classes, we are asking that all students and staff contribute to the cleaning efforts of surfaces in between classes. I saw a question specifically about Flemington's closing, and I will inform the board and the public that there were 3 reasons cited by the superintendent in Flemington for closing and doing fully remote. Reason number 1 was ventilation, but it wasn't necessarily related to ventilation or filtration. It seemed to me, at least from what I read, was also related to lack of air conditioning in buildings. Second was supply of PPE. So we have air conditioning in buildings. I'm going to go back to that, right? So I think the superintendent of Flemington, when I read the letter, was indicating that students wearing masks during the day in September heat may not be the best thing for them when it comes to ventilation because of lack of air conditioning. Second was lack of PPE. My understanding when reading the superintendent's letter was that there was a considerable amount of PPE that has not come in for the Flemington School District. And then thirdly, when ours has, based off of the report that Mr. Boehm just provided. And then thirdly was staff accommodation issues. So those were the reasons. 2 of the 3 reasons I don't see as necessarily pertaining to us because we have PPE and we have air conditioning in our buildings.
When are teachers and schedules coming out for students?
Everybody should have received their AB cycle assignments. Schedules are scheduled to come out on Monday, August 24th.
How are we able to keep the numbers per class low and keep kids and staff safe while in the hallway if 76% of students are attending?
So remember, 76% of students are attending on an A-B rotation. So 3/4 of our population of students are coming in, and they're coming in shifts in half. So if a building has 300 students divided in half, it's 150, and take 75% of that approximately. That's how many students we have coming in on any given day. So a building that ordinarily sees 300 students may only be seeing about 115 students.
What about classrooms that do not have windows?
We have put diverters on the ventilation system, and we are doing our inspection of those air handler units. Yes, we want outside air in. We will be bringing in outside air through the dampers on those ventilation systems. Unfortunately, they do not have windows in those classrooms, but we will ensure that we bring in outside air.
I'm not purposely skipping over particular ones, but I think that we've addressed some of them. So there was something about Flemington, and I'm skipping that because you addressed it, Dr. Hart.
Okay.
Cafeteria, again, that was addressed as well. Bridgewater Middle School and Flemington, before they went virtual, were having middle school students stay in one classroom and having teachers rotate. Have we considered that to eliminate contact time?
And that is part of the what I've been talking with Mrs. Moffat about when it comes to scheduling. You know, we are trying to cohort students to the extent possible, but we are also trying to develop a schedule that allows students to meet their classes according to their needs, their math level, their language arts level, special education level. So there may be some mixing that would be required. Flemington came up with a very different plan than ours.
With outdoor dining not being allowed, how is eating in a cafeteria different from that being allowed within a school?
So we are greatly, so there are some things, there are some executive orders from the governor and some mandates that have been put out that seem very counterintuitive. And I understand the genesis of that question. However, the only answer I can provide to that is I think there's a difference between indoor dining with hundreds of unknown patrons versus indoor dining in cafeteria where we know the students, they have assigned seats. We have done assurances of their COVID symptoms, and there's a level of protection that we can provide that restaurants may not be able to. But I certainly understand the nature of the question. And I think that question is best asked of the governor to find out why we can eat in schools, but not necessarily in restaurants. But I can tell you that we will do our best to ensure that students sit in their appropriate seats as assigned and are as safe as possible while eating in a reduced capacity cafeteria.
Will there be tutoring provided by the district for students needing additional support that they may otherwise get in school during lunch hours, etc.?
So right now our goal is simply to open schools in the safest manner possible. When it comes to additional services, we will look at that once school is open. Please know that our intervention services will continue to run as we open schools. So should students require additional services based off of their needs, we have a mechanism for that, which is intervention as well as special education services.
How many parents have asked for their children to not wear masks due to any issue, whether physical or emotional? And how will you decide which teachers will be made to have those students in their classrooms?
I don't have that information. When last we sent the survey for accommodations to students out to families, we asked if there were any accommodations that we should know about. We have identified those accommodations, and I know that building principals are following up with those parents to find out exactly what those accommodations are. I don't know off the top of my head.
When will teachers be able to provide support for remote learners beside the Wednesday remote learning days?
So we are working on schedules with the principals right now. Remember that all students, virtual and not, will be experiencing the same lesson synchronously at the same time. So virtual and non-virtual students will have that. We're also working on scheduling and talking with the building principals about finding opportunities where teachers may be able to pool a small group, and that small group may be a virtual group of students who are home virtually. But that is being built into schedules right now with the building principals.
Flashing by quickly. Can you elaborate on plexiglass barriers for staff? Will barriers hang in front of student desks, or will teachers have the same type as students?
So the plexiglass barriers, there are different types. Main offices, nurses' offices are getting plexiglass barriers that are hanging in front of the counter in the main office or in front of the nurse's station in the nurse's office. Plexiglass barriers in classrooms are being provided to teachers, and it's a tri-fold. It almost looks like a privacy folder that you would put up in your classroom if you were giving a test or a quiz. So it stands either 2 feet high or 3 feet high, depending on the age of the student or the situation. Meaning if you're sitting down at your desk, you can have a plexiglass barrier. It's foldable, movable, portable. It can go with the teacher. If the teacher is going to approach a student, she can bring her plexiglass barrier with her. If she's going to meet with a student at a side table, the plexiglass barrier can go there also. Jason, I think there's one other kind. I think it's a plexiglass barrier, and they're like the plexiglass barriers that are portable that each teacher will have in their classroom on his or her desk. Is a very thick type of plastic and durable, foldable. I don't know what the material is that it's made with. And then the other kind is like a standalone plexiglass barrier that has like little feet on it, and it's got a relative thickness to it. And these are being used in areas like speech therapy rooms, Jason, cafeterias where the tables are round, those types of environments. So we have different kinds in different situations.
How often is the plan going to be reassessed? And is there some possibility that we might be able to resume full-time this year?
I think resuming full-time is going to depend on the metrics from the Department of Health and where Hunterdon County falls in regard to the green, yellow, orange, or red metrics, as well as how our country progresses with adequate treatments as well as a vaccine. I wish I could answer that question. I don't have an estimation of when full in-person instruction would be able to begin.
Can you explain how remote and virtual groups will be in lessons together? Is there a camera on the teacher in the classroom for the virtual group?
There are cameras that are attached to every teacher's device, which is a laptop. The teacher has a choice when providing these lessons. The camera can be pointed at a board, can be pointed at as an easel board. A presentation can be shared via Google Meet, just like I shared the Google Meet the presentation through our Google Meet just a couple of moments ago. So the teacher will have some options. Should the teacher have virtual students on her computer and wish to go over to a side table and just while other students are doing independent work and meet with those students in a small group, she has that ability too. So it's going to depend on the teacher. It will be versatile, but there will be live simultaneous instruction at periods during the day according to a schedule for both at-home students as well as in-class students.
How are one-to-one aids to operate on virtual days?
Similar to the springtime, we are working out schedules with aides to ensure that they check in with students or their families, attend virtual meetings with children who they are supporting.
Have we polled substitute teachers, and will we have enough come fall?
We have approximately, Jason, help me out. I want to say our pool is about 60 substitute teachers, higher 70.
Yeah, we have around 70 to 80 substitutes, of which approximately 20 substitute 75 days or more, which provide us the most of our coverage. And of that, we have polled the substitutes. We currently have a little less than 40% that have indicated they are likely not coming back for the fall, with 60% coming back. They have signed up for training, for COVID training in August. And we're going to go over specific protocols that relate to the upcoming school year. But in addition to that, what we've done is we've looked at alternative options to staff the unique circumstances that exist come this fall. We're being creative with existing staff, long-term leave replacements, as well as dedicating openings for substitutes immediately to fill for the first month of school every day of the week. So that way subs can already sign up for each building. You'll have extra staff available in those buildings.
Follow up to the question on extra support for non-intervention or non-special education students. Will there be teacher time dedicated for extra help as there was during a normal school day?
I think that's going to be for virtual students or in-person students. I think that that's going to be a scheduling question developed by the building principal. I would say if your child has particular needs that you'd like to follow up with the building principal or the teacher about any additional assistance, I think that would be appropriate. This is going to be a quite unconventional school year. I think that part of what we're doing is ensuring that we are opening safely and meeting the needs of our students, but certainly if there's a question or a concern about a child's individual needs or additional tutoring or support that he or she may need, to discuss that with your child's teacher or building principal once that announcement comes out next week.
From a parent, have you further considered recording teachers' lessons so that virtual learners can look back to answer their own questions while doing independent work?
We have, and I've discussed this with our administrative team and the Board of Education, and we have several concerns about recording lessons. Remember, first and foremost, and it was very clear in the Restart Committee, that student accountability and attendance and engagement in lessons is critically important. And setting routines and a schedule for students is very, very important also. So just like school, right? School begins at a certain time, each period is a certain time, subjects that are a certain time, whether a child is virtual or at home, that will continue to be the expectation, that students be available for learning at particular times during the day. We felt that by recording lessons, we get less consistency of student attendance and engagement in real time, making it very difficult to account to the Department of Education who is actually attending school according to our attendance policy on those particular days. In other words, the more teachers record lessons and post lessons, the less students will be coming to those live lessons where they can ask questions and engage. And we as a district believe, and as a Restart Committee believed very firmly, that students should be coming and engaging in the lessons either virtually or in person at their scheduled times. Second, there are some concerns in regard to student needs and confidentiality, that it's one thing for it to occur in a moment and happen live, even if it is live broadcast into a child's home. It's quite another to have students be recorded on a lesson, and we're concerned about that.
When will teachers be made aware of cohorts of students attending on A's and B days and those that are virtual, as well as any schedule changes that might be made so that they can have time for processing and planning?
I would email your building principal to find out which students in your class will be attending on A or B day. I know that principals have been working on that, and I was in one principal's office today and I saw the class rosters and who was A day and B day. So I know that principals are working on it or have it.
Parent asking about considerations for social and emotional concerns that our children will have.
That is outlined in the plan. We are committed to social emotional learning. We have social emotional activities that are outlined that are going to be supported by the teachers. Please take a look in the plan. Mr. Tumalo has developed some activities that are very user-friendly for the teachers and their students that can be included even in a socially distanced and remote setting.
Will virtual students be able to meet teachers and get Chromebook training September 3rd and 4th?
Say that one again, Robin.
Will virtual students also be able to meet their teachers and get Chromebook training on September 3rd and 4th?
So the September 3rd and 4th Chromebook training is only available for kindergarten and first grade parents and students. Because of the developmental nature of K and 1, we thought it best to ensure that students and parents learn the expectations of virtual and in-person instruction using the technology side by side. But in talking with the building principals at grades K and 1, they will be offering virtual students should they wish to come in for that opportunity. There is no requirement though, but it's only K and 1.
Have there been adjustments to curriculum for this next school year? Will the curriculum remain as rigorous or will it be modified, and how?
I believe the curriculum is rigorous and it will remain rigorous. There are two types of content that we teach according to the standards. There's critical content or major content is the term. That is the have to be covered kinds of material from the Department of Education, and there is supporting content. Our focus is on the major content to ensure that we provide students with those standards. The supporting content will be covered, if at all possible, by the teacher. Those modifications are being looked at by the curriculum department.
If synchronous learning fails for a student for technical issues, internet outage, or Wi-Fi issues, will the student be able to catch up on missed work since lessons aren't recorded?
Yes, so even in an ordinary school year, students are sometimes absent from school, they miss some content, and the teacher is able to catch them up. If that happens, I would have the student in his or her next meeting with the teacher, let the teacher know that they had a technology issue and see what they missed and work with the teacher to get caught up on any material.
In regards to a full day schedule, particularly on virtual days, has consideration been given to research linked to increased risk for psychological and emotional difficulties caused by extended screen time?
I have not we recognize, so I'll start by saying that we've done some work over the past couple of years in regard to the effect of screen time on students, particularly through our work and the information that was provided to us through screenagers. I think that we are in an environment where increased screen time is going to be inevitable based off of the hybrid learning or virtual learning plan. I think that it's going to be important for teachers to balance the amount of time that students are engaged in face-to-face contact with the computer for an online learning activity or a lesson versus opportunities for teachers to tell students to go do independent work either outside or elsewhere. And this is whether they're remote learning or in-person learning, to provide those opportunities. I think our teachers are fantastic at reading their students, knowing what their needs are, and ensuring that we balance the screen time with time that we maybe need to spend outside or socializing or doing social emotional learning activities. So I would leave that up to the individual teacher to provide. Have I read any specific research that is current related to the COVID crisis and online learning? I have not, but what I do know is that we are going to provide the environment that would be best for students to continue their education in a hybrid, virtual, and in-person format to the extent possible, while still being aware of their social and emotional needs and providing opportunities for students to do things other than be connected only by a computer to find other opportunities.
Will the district consider allowing a case-by-case basis for kids with complex IEPs to attend full-time?
So remember that our Reddington Ready Restart Plan is our starting point, and students who have IEPs that have them in self-contained classrooms are attending 4 days per week. I do understand that there are other students who have IEPs that do have other needs, and maybe parents wish for them to attend 4 days a week. At some point, my hope is we are able to extend our offer for more 4-day-a-week learning to other students who may have complex or significant special education needs. So we will consider that, but we will consider it at a later date in the future.
Will there be any sort of orientation where the children can preview where they're going to need to go on the first day of school, or prior instructions so that it can be given to children?
I know that
with the change of building, maybe.
Yeah, I know that the principals have at least been putting together a virtual orientation. I know that there will be staff to help students on the first day of school. The first day of school is, a learning experience for everyone, and our staff will certainly support students, as they make their way through buildings, particularly when they're moving into a different building. And there will be orientations, but they will be virtual orientations. And please remember, when your children do come to school, remember, we have the same number of staff, but we'll have reduced capacity students. So it won't quite look the same.
Teacher question: streaming from my classroom rather than my living room with terrible internet would be preferred. Avoiding the sudden need to go virtual or remote by taking that risk, would it not be better to play it safe so that teachers can still access the building, technology, and materials to provide quality daily instruction from the classroom?
So yes. I don't know if I can promise that we will avoid going virtual at some point during the school year. I think that might be something that may happen depending on the surveillance done by the Department of Health, but I certainly understand what that teacher is saying.
Yeah, I know a lot of schools too, even if they are virtual, some of the teachers are coming in to teach from their rooms. So maybe that as just considering that as an option later if the virtual needed to happen. And
even on Wednesdays, as long as teachers notify us that they want to come into the classroom or into their building, as long as we have notification, we're okay with that.
Will students be notified of maintaining 6-foot distance and mask restrictions before they enter school on the first day?
We will be sending out further communications, reminders for parents, and we have listed best practices also for teachers, but there is going to be a level of enforcement and instruction and teachable moments that teachers may have over the course of the year to reinforce these concepts.
I believe I've reached the end of questions. There were some things that were very personalized. So again, feel free to reach out to Dr. Hart by email if there's something that you need specific. instructions on. I do want to just say that there were several messages to Kevin Meyer for his support of the teachers, and several messages in regards to the support for the board and the superintendent on the plan that we've put together. You know, these comments are up here in the chat for anyone to peruse through.
Robin, I got one question via email, and Jason, I don't know if you can answer this question. It seems a little technical. The question is, what is the distance between the AHU flange and ductwork size? My question stems from the restrictions on installing UV lights on the upstream size of the duct. Can you answer that question? It's very technical. If you cannot, I can forward you the question. I can promise the parent that I will get back to her.
I would forward that to me. We did specifically discuss what you were talking about with our engineer and architect firm.
Okay.
And there's very specific type of answer that would be appropriate.
Okay. It has been sent.
I guess one last, how will the district handle kids who are not wearing masks properly?
If you please go into the Reddington Ready plan. Of course, if students are not wearing their mask properly, of course, staff members will refer to them and let them know how to properly wear a mask, or they can be sent to the school nurse for assistance if needed. If students are not complying with the direction to wear a mask, please understand, parents, that students will be removed and placed on virtual instruction. So there is an expectation for compliance to follow the expectations that are written in the Reddington Ready plan.
I think that would close this section. I want to thank Dr. Hart for answering all the questions, and thank you, Robin, for facilitating all of the questions. We'll move on to correspondence. We had 5 correspondence since our last, and it was regarding opening of schools. Administrative reports. Can I get a motion to adopt 1.01, please?
So moved, Anna.
Second, Ray.
All right. Are there any questions on the administrative report?
I had a question. We're on 1.01, correct, Laura?
Yes.
Yeah, just a quick question. When Kevin mentioned the NJEA that we haven't met all their standards, was the specific standard that we didn't meet about the filters, or was that a separate standard? Dr. Hart, that's a question for you.
I believe that the NJEA, I believe that the document requires that all ventilation systems are outfitted with MERV 17 filters or greater. I believe that's the standard that's in the NJEA document. And my reference is to the fact that the Department of Education and the Department of Health have not put out a minimum standard in relation to the type of filter.
Gotcha.
And yes, and Kevin just wrote the NJEA and DOE standards are different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that that was about the filter. I know that there was quite a discussion about that. I wanted to make sure I wasn't missing something. Second question is, do we know what percentage of our teachers took the survey organized by the union? I know that it was 74% didn't feel safe to return, but how many actually participated in that survey? Representative of most of our staff?
I defer to.
Okay, 186.
186 out of 224.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions on 101? Not hearing any. Can I get a roll call, please?
Greg Egbert,
Yes.
Rob McCallan,
Yes.
Karen Jaworski,
Yes.
Andrew Saunders,
Yes.
Thomas Wallace,
Yes.
Eric Swirling,
Yeah, we were not given an opportunity to comment. I'd just like to say that I think that first of all, this is easily the most difficult vote I've had in 10 years on the board. This is a risk-benefit analysis that I've wrestled with for a week or more. There are significant potential educational consequences versus significant potential public health or private health consequences. Both of those, some are certain, some are unknown. Even the potential health consequences are unknown. Even people who recover from COVID, they're beginning to see that there are cardiovascular impacts from it. The plan that was developed is one that is, under the given circumstances, is a multivariable equation, and all the solutions are horrendous. There's no perfect solution to this incredibly difficult circumstance that we're in. I think that if we require masks of everybody, and there is an absolute zero tolerance policy, and I don't care what the reason is, zero tolerance, I think that provides a certain level of safety for us to go forward. There was a case where there was some salon workers somewhere in the Midwest, I think it was Missouri, where 2 of them were in full-blown COVID symptoms, et cetera. They were shedding, and none of their clients, 39 clients, I think, were they were in close proximity to them, and none of them contracted the disease, even though they were in close contact. The requirement for masks must be adhered to 100% to protect other students, to protect our staff, our wonderful staff, and to protect the community as a whole. These children are coming home. This is an incredibly difficult decision. I think we've done the best that we can, and at any given moment, I could have voted either way. But understanding with your assurances, Dr. Hart, that there will be that requirement, I will vote yes.
Anna Shin,
Yes.
and Laura Simon.
Yes.
Motion passes.
For the minutes, can I get a motion to adopt 2.01 to 2.03, please?
So move, Ray.
Second, Anna.
Are there any questions or changes on the minutes? Not hearing any, can I get a roll call, please?
Ray Egbert. Ray, say again, sorry.
Yes.
Rob McCallan,
Yes.
Carolyn Pogorski,
Yes.
Andrew Saunders,
Yes.
Thomas Wallace,
Yes.
Eric Swirling,
Yes.
Anna Shin,
Yes.
Laura Simon,
Yes, but abstained from 2.03.
passes.
For finance and facilities, can I get a motion to adopt 3.01 to 3.09, please?
So move, Ray.
Second, Anna.
We have a committee report.
We do. The committee met on August 4th. We discussed the 2021 capital projects. The Three Bridges boiler project continues. There's a change number 1 order. There's some issues with that. The change orders provide additional electrical work to complete the boiler installation at a cost of $11,044. This change order is required because the boiler ordered was a different boiler per the architectural plans. The new boiler requires a 1 circuit versus the planned 480 volt circuit. for quicker delivery than the one originally planned. Upon committee discussion, we're not sure who approved the boiler and if the new boiler met the plan specifications originally desired. So due to the additional cost and no prior board approval, the committee decided to not approve change order number 1. And Mr. Bone will work with the architect and to determine options to complete the boiler installation. The Hollenbrook roof project is substantially complete. Just some small flashing installation and punch list items. There's an ongoing application for securing our Children's Future Bond Act. That's postponed by the state indefinitely. So the state has not sold bonds that would allow for the grant funds. And the LED lighting project at White House and Three Bridges is completed. And the other maintenance and IT summer projects per the priority list have substantially completed. Sorry. The hot air balloon incident at RMS, the HVAC unit has been replaced along with minor roof repair. The district did pay the insurance deductible, which is expected to be refunded once the insurance process is finalized. The RMS well E. coli update, the issue has been traced to the UV filter not properly sanitizing the water. The DEP has provided 3 options, which includes installing a 4-stage UV filter, installing a 4-stage chlorination system, or digging a new well. The district is in the process of determining the pros and cons of the UV and chlorination systems and is expecting quotes, or we probably have already received those by now. The new well is not considered an option due to no guarantee that the E. coli would still be present and would still require a new filtration system. There's no recommendation currently. For the committee also discussed the reopening plan. Lunch options for virtual days was not discussed due to time constraints, and the committee discussed the option of discounting the preschool tuition. Additional information will be gathered regarding surrounding districts and what the district's program will provide. For budget update, there's a list, we reviewed a list of additional costs related to COVID-19. Mr. Bone continues to monitor the list, and most of the items on this list were not budgeted, obviously. There's been no update from the state regarding new state aid amounts planned to be released next week, August 25th. As far as legislation COVID-19 impact, there's a couple of bills that can mandate a fully insured health benefits tax. The cost to the district would be approximately $140,000. There could possibly be no effect to the district if parts of the Affordable Health Care Act expire on December 2020. And the new health benefit bill will become effective January 1st, 2021, and open enrollment for the district will be in October 2020. The 180-day law is still in effect, thus the bill list is being closely monitored for approvals. The finance agenda items you'll see tonight, the RTA agreement along with the related salary adjustments, cancellation of the Guardian long-term disability insurance per the contract negotiation process, and acceptance of the Digital Divide grant funds. Committee is recommending approval. Bill list is normal in nature, and the annual financial audit has begun, and next meeting is to be determined. That's it.
Thank you, Ray. Are there any questions on the minutes or the agenda item?
Yes, Laura, this is Eric. I have a question for Ray. Ray, when you're considering the well water treatment, please look at, don't just look at the cost for UV versus chlorination. Chlorination can produce trihalomethanes, which are a known carcinogen. So if we can go with UV, understanding that the system we have is flawed, it is a tried and true methodology, but don't let price be the only determinant.
Absolutely. Sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
Are there any other questions on the minutes or the agenda items? Not hearing any. Can I get a roll call, please?
Ray Egbert.
Yes.
Rob McCallan.
Yes.
Carolyn Pogorski.
Yes.
Andrew Saunders.
Yes.
Thomas Wallace.
Yes.
Eric Swirling.
Yes.
Anna Shin.
Yes.
Laura Simon.
Yes.
Passes.
Education technology. Can I get a motion to 4.01, 4.03, please?
So moved. Anna?
Second, Tom.
Thank you. We have a committee report.
Yes, we do. The committee met on August 6th. New standards were discussed along with their timeline. The state is implementing some changes. As of September 2021, career readiness, life literacies and key skills, science, visual performing arts, and world languages will need to be implemented. The new standards for comprehensive health and phys ed, computer science and design thinking, and social studies will need to be updated by September of 2020. September 2020. There were numerous curriculum revisions. Many of them were pacing guide adjustments. Some were the flow between grades. The mapping was adjusted. 21st century skills and interpersonal skills were added. There's a complete description of the changes along on the minutes. We discussed the school reopening. They're working on the school and class schedules, the curriculum compacting, as well as assessment schedule being adjusted for the start of school. Our next meeting is September 9th.
Thank you. Are there any questions on the minutes or the agenda items? Not hearing any. Can I get a roll call, please?
Ray Egbert,
Yes.
Rob McCallum,
Yes.
Carolyn Pogorski,
Yes.
Andrew Saunders,
Yes.
Thomas Wallace,
Yes.
Eric Swerling,
Yes.
Anna Shin,
Yes.
Laura Simon.
Yes. Personnel. Can I get a motion to adopt 5.01 to 5.2?
So moved, Anna.
Second, Ray.
Thank you. We did have a committee report.
We did have a meeting on August 4th. We discussed staffing, enrollment, reopening considerations as it relates to adequate staffing, non-aligned salary adjustments, organizational chart was updated, job description updates, personnel matters, and the next meeting is yet to be determined.
Thank you. Are there any questions on the minute or the agenda items?
Can you make, not really a question, just can you make a comment about we are approving the negotiated settlement agreement for the next 3 years? I'm on the negotiation committee. There's a lot of work put forth that, and we just get a little blurb here, but yeah, I want to recognize that the board members are approving that tonight.
You are correct. I was going to say thank you to the committee and to the TEA for all of their work. I think this is the first time in many, many years that we have successfully negotiated an agreement so quickly. So thank you, Kevin, and your team. And I thank the negotiations committee from the board. This is definitely a really awesome achievement.
The association is very appreciative of the board and the board's team, especially for making this happen prior to the start of a new school year. And I know that our membership feels the same way, so thank you.
Are there any other questions on the agenda item? Not hearing any. Can I get a roll call, please?
Ray Egbert,
Yes.
Rob McCallum,
Yes.
Carolyn Pogorski,
Yes.
Andrew Saunders,
Yes.
Thomas Wallace,
Yes.
Eric Swerling,
Yes.
Anna Shin,
Yes.
Laura Simon.
Yes.
Passes.
Communication. Can I get a motion to adopt 6.01 to 6.02, please?
So moved, Anna?
Second, Ray.
Thank you. I don't believe we have a committee report. I didn't see one. Robin?
We did have a meeting. Shoot, we had a meeting because we have 2 policies on tonight. Our meeting was August 11th. The policy 1648, restart and recovery, and then policy 1648.02, remote learning options for families, needed to be approved, both mandated policies due to COVID.
Thank you. Are there any questions or changes for the policies up for first read?
No questions for the policy. I just want to point out the calendar.
Calendar, right.
The revised calendar. So once that's approved, Dr. Hart, correct me, but once that's approved tonight, then that'll get posted to the district website, correct?
That's correct. Yeah, we're going to approve tonight and then get it posted tomorrow.
Any other questions on those items? Not hearing any. Can I get a roll call, please?
Ray Egbert. Ray.
Unmute, Ray.
Rob McCallan.
Yes.
Carolyn Pogorski.
Yes.
Andrew Saunders.
Yes.
Thomas Wallace.
Yes.
Eric Rolling.
Yes.
Anna Shin.
Yes.
Joe Simon.
Yes.
Passes.
Unfinished business? Is there anything that you need to bring up? All right. New business from the board. We have the annual workshop, which is going to be virtual this year, October 20th through the 22nd. You would need to let Jason know if you wish to participate. But if you previously did not want to drive to Atlantic City, this is the way to any other new business from the board you want to bring up? All right. We're now open to the public. This is anything on or off the agenda. If we're going to be discussing the reopening plan, I will reiterate, if it is regarding your individual child, if you could contact the principal. Otherwise, we'll limit to 1 hour, depending on how many questions you have. If there's anything left over, feel free to contact the superintendent for a response.
The additions that I saw did concern the calendar. So any calendar changes that would be happening before the start of school.
Robin, the only thing I'll mention with the calendar is I wish I had a crystal ball and could predict what the school year is going to hold for us. And, again, with every decision, there's a cost and a benefit. If we move more professional development time to the beginning of the calendar, I just get concerned about losing that professional development time when we may need it later on in the calendar. So I think there was a question or a comment about PD time, and I think that I like the idea of having PD days periodically over the course of the school year, and I understand that it means a little less PD in the beginning of the year, but there may be a time where the situation shifts again, and I would really like the flexibility for the teachers to have additional PD days later on at some time during the school year. That's all. And if I had a crystal ball to predict the future, I wish I had that.
Robin, are there any other questions that you want to bring up?
I don't see anything for answering. a mention of a possible central COVID outbreak. So I haven't heard of anything, but that was mentioned. So something that we need to look into.
Yeah, I
and
haven't
then
heard
just,
anything either.
yeah, and then just kudos for the contract.
Okay. So we will move into executive session. Can I get a motion to adjourn to executive session in accordance with the Sunshine Law to discuss the superintendent evaluation for approximately 30 minutes, at which time the board expects to return to public session where no action will be taken. The matters discussed will be made public if and when the circumstances requiring confidentiality no longer exist. However, it is not presently known when such circumstances will exist. Can I get that motion?
So moved, Anna.
Second, Tom.
All right, can I get a roll call, please?
Ray Egbert,
Yes.
Rob McCallum,
Yes.
John Pogorski,
Yes.
Andrew Saunders,
Yes.
Tom Wallace,
Yes.
Eric Rolling,
Yes.
Anna Shin,
Yes.
Laura Simon,
Yes.
passes.
6:38.
Thank you, everybody.
All right, thank you. Everyone have a great evening.
Have a nice evening, everyone. Thank you very much.
Mhm.